And welcome inside the Backstage Pass. End of the week is Friday, TGIF version. And of course, Friday, the weekend is here. Just 1 week before the big game to the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, number 58. We can't say the first two words, but the big game is coming up a week from this Sunday, too, as well. Looking forward to that out there for the sports side of things here, too. We're presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and, of course, the CadenGordonShow.com, today's best country mix, and our friends out there at Jewelry by Tommy. More about the sponsors as we go through the program here on KKTC True Country 99.9, and of course out there to hightidecountry.net, and always the sportsguyspodcast.com, always live on that very website. Pleased to welcome in my featured artist of the day here on the station, and it's a good Friday to have John Krondes on the show. John, how you doing?
Live in person, doing great. Thank you so much. And I think it's about 5 or a few minutes after remembering Jimmy Buffett, one of my favorite people, and it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, and I'm actually close to Margaritaville, which is in Hollywood, Florida. I'm right now in Fort Lauderdale, and just a short driving distance. I've been there before, and I'm sure I'll go again.
Well, I love that. I wish I could switch places with you right now. Of course, I'm in Texas, but we got a little bit nicer weather this week after all this little cold snap that came in back in the 60s, 70s for daytime highs. Beautiful weather out there and sunny skies, and just a great time to really enjoy the weather. And of course, with March coming up, I'm hoping we have a early spring. Of course, where you're at, I've been down there. The weather's always nice where you're at.
Always nice. It was actually a little bit cold seasonally here. I came down here, right before New Year, and it was up until just the past week a little bit chilly, but it's about 80 or so now, so I can't complain.
I tell you what, you can't complain with those temperatures down there too. And for long, baseball is going to be in that area too. Spring training down there in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Jupiter, beautiful area down there too. And of course, Port St. Lucie, I love it down there. One of my favorite areas to travel to and watch some Major League Baseball spring training. Well, I tell you, John, I'm interested to hear your story because I love it. Yesterday we're talking to Eric Diamond here on the show, and just what a legacy career he's had, over 40 years in the music industry. Take me back to yours. When did the bug kind of bite for music and this industry?
Everybody kind of giggles when I tell the true story, which is actually 500% true. Quoting my mother, Florence Krondes, I came out of the womb into the studio. Literally every house that I was born in was a recording studio. My father, Jimmy Krondes, who preceded me, was an award-winning songwriter, wrote a lot of big hits, wrote music for Elvis. Elvis sang my father's song, The End, also known as At the End of a Rainbow, which Elvis sang to Priscilla the night they met in Germany. And there's a new movie that just started hitting theaters, actually just came out in New Zealand yesterday. And they talk about how when she met Elvis at 14 years old and met Priscilla at a party in West Germany in 1959 and serenaded her with 3 songs, one being my dad's song that he wrote, The End, which was originally Earl Grant's big hit. It's been an international hit many times over. And the last version recorded by me with Elvis Presley's Jordanaires that's what started this project.
When you look into the deep history, like you said there, I mean, Elvis Presley says it all. The king of rock and roll, everything out there, too, he's ever done. I loved this latest movie that came out here in the States, too. I thought it was just a great portrayal of it. Maybe it was missing a few things here and there, but it's hard for a movie for, 2.5 hours to capture every moment. What were your thoughts of this latest one that came out there? What was it, last year? I believe 23? Yeah.
Well, the Elvis movie came out last year and last summer. But the Priscilla movie just started hitting theaters, hit the selectively some theaters in the United States in November, and started its international release for the most part right after New Year this year, January 5th, and it's still going. And it's created a lot of interest in everything Elvis. And I got so much interest in all my music. They started releasing my song, The End, with the Elvis movie, and now there's a big resurgence, and they're putting that song out again all over the world. We're getting a tremendous amount of airplay, but we've got about 100 songs, kid you not, with all the original Elvis Presley musicians, and now a lot of other musical legends. We've got a few Billy Joel's band members, Liberty DeVito, who played drums for Billy Joel for over 30 years. He joined the project and just killed it. did some fabulous drumming. He played on 10 new songs that we just started over the last year with some of the Elvis players, and who's left. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these musicians started to pass away. A number of them starting in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got, as an example, the entire American Sound Studio band that played Suspicious Minds on several songs. I've got a single that's getting quite a bit of play called A Dream for Peace, which is a new recording of the song If I Can Dream that Elvis sang in the 68 comeback special,
mm-hmm.
and a classical piece that opens and closes the song that I wrote called Classical Dream. And stations and fans are tripping out, when they call and are asking, is this Elvis? I mean, not that any of this is intentional, but it's overwhelming when you get all those people back together playing music again, which they haven't done in over 40 years. It sounds not just reminiscent, but should I say like the rest do, it's Elvis music. It's that Memphis sound. I'm just one part of the pie, one sliver of the pie, but it's the culmination of things that makes this what everybody's calling the new Memphis rock music.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about another one I got a chance to check out, Vegas in the Morning. And I love this particular song too. How did this one get started? A lot of history behind this one too, right?
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, yes. Originally, I wrote the song and wrote it with Paul Evans when I first started going out to Las Vegas recording with the Jordanaires. That's when my very first single, which started it, was The End. And the Jordanaires were sent the piano vocal version of my new arrangement, my father's song, The End, and agreed to record with me. Sony Music and a producer I was working with, Dixon Van Winkle, got back to me, and they were sent the tape and loved it and said, if you want to send John to Las Vegas, we'll try a session and quote, see how it goes, which, long story short, was magic the minute they sang a song, which led to many, many other songs with the Jordanaires on there. And we've got the Stamps, Imperials, Sweet Inspirations, everybody. But back to Vegas in the Morning, they were doing a Patsy Cline tribute out in Las Vegas. So if I was going to record with them, which of course I wouldn't pass down the opportunity, which led to all of this transpiring, I had to go to Las Vegas. So I flew out there with Dixon Van Winkle, the producer from Sony Music, and a couple of other industry people. And while I was there, I had my recording sessions, and I loved Las Vegas. I'd been there a couple of times before, but I ran around and I'm not a gambler by any means, but I like to play baccarat a little bit. But more and importantly, I just love the vibe of the city and the action and all the restaurants and the girls, the clubs. And what I particularly noted was that as the evening got later and I had a few more drinks and happy hour turned into just another night in Vegas, I noticed that there's no windows in the casinos. Which intentionally they don't want you to know what time it is. It's every hour is like 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say. But it was my culmination of that experience. I had so much fun in Vegas, running around and meeting girls, and I couldn't. When I was on the plane and actually got back to New York from that first trip and recording with the Jordanaires, I just remember the feeling a little bit sad, a little bit. Melancholy, and like I couldn't wait to think about it. Kept thinking about when could I go back to Las Vegas, and the title just popped up into my head, and I started playing it on the piano. Returning to Vegas in the Morning, which is the number one party place in the world, arguably, and I was collaborating with Paul Evans, who wrote a lot of Elvis Presley's big hits at the time. And I showed it to him, and he loved it and laughed and thought it was a great, fun song. And we wrote the song out together and started recording it with some of the Elvis musicians. I have the Jordanaires again on that song, and the Sweet Inspirations, the girls that sang with Elvis, and some other noted musicians. And it's just a very fun song, and basically just reliving and praising the fun and the never-ending 24/7 lifestyle in Las Vegas.
True, no doubt. That's why they call it Sin City. No doubt about it, too. Exactly. And been there, guilty as charged. And that's why the big game is there, February the 11th. Looking forward to that. The Chiefs, Niners, too, as well. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. Next week, we'll get her some predictions thrown out there, too, as well. I got to get a prediction from you, John. A football fan. Are you going to watch this game? Who would you put your money on?
Well, aside from my music, which it was always from day one, uh, my life and what I was born to do, but I made music and sang and swing choir and all that stuff up through high school and did commercial recordings as a kid. But the other things that I did well was playing football and
Okay.
loved football. Started in seventh grade, played all the way through college. Then my sister got in an accident and I ended up splitting my head open and ended up getting a ruptured spleen another year later, and that kind of stopped my football career. But I continued my music. But being said, I've always loved football. One of probably my favorite sport. I love all sports, but I watched all the playoff games and a lot of the games pre playoff in this season, and it amazes me that the Kansas City Chiefs. I was watching the commentary how they were saying that they beat the Lions and what a close game. It was just like a point or something, and they're just noting that they're amazing. They've been in the playoffs like so many times in the last 6 years or so, and won Super Bowls. Just an amazing team. So
it's crazy.
I mean,
yeah,
it'd be a tough team to beat.
One of my friends on the morning radio show we do too, KKTC True Country, she's like, yeah, she's a Niners fan, so she's got to go to San Francisco, and that's the big one for the big game. You just kind of get, I mean, these dynasties are good for sports, don't get me wrong, because you get tired of talking about the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, and now the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. Now, I'm a Texan, so Mahomes is a Texan, so it would not be, I guess, unorthodox for me to see him win his third
There
one.
you go.
And of course, it's still kosher to do that. But hey, it's there for the taking. Going to be a big one. Number 58. They're coming up the big game.
I've always
February
loved
11th.
the Dallas Cowboys too, and it was sad that they lost in the playoffs. They had a hell of a game as well.
And now
Dak
their defensive,
Prescott, great quarterback.
Great quarterback, and now their DC, their defensive coordinator for the past 3 years, Dan Quinn, is going to coach the Washington Commanders. Still weird to say Commanders and not the old name Redskins over there too, but that's
Right.
a story for a different day too. I got to get a little word in for the sponsors here too as well. We'll have more with John in a second too, but I tell you, John, if you're a fellow, you're married like me, you got a significant other in your life, you don't want to mess up Valentine's Day because then you end up sleeping in the doghouse. You can't do that too. So the perfect gift with it coming up around the corner if you're looking for that. Spouse, friend, family member, it's Jewelry by Tommy. He's got you covered. Email right there, burleysystem@yahoo.com today. Put it in order. It's all handcrafted, handmade there, BUEHRLE system@yahoo.com for Jewelry by Tommy. We'll have another timeout for our whiskey. Bangtail Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Backstage Pass. We're going to come back, talk more of some great songs with John Krondes. Here it is, the Backstage Pass, KKTC True Country 99.9, and of course out there, the Sports Guys podcast.com, and out there at HighTideCountry.net. Stay tuned. More to come.
The Caden Gordon Show is a 2-hour show playing the best in country music. So check it out at thecadengordonshow.com. Again, that is thecadengordonshow.com.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And back here with John Krondes on the Backstage Pass. Of course, another week of shows coming up next week. Aaron Ray Vaughan, Kanan Cox, and a whole lot more coming by. Tebe, a huge singer-songwriter from Canada. And stay tuned for a whole lot more here on KKTC on Monday morning. Shelly in the morning on KKTC True Country, Taos, New Mexico, and up into Colorado. And, of course, out there, too, at HighTideCountry.net. And always the Sports Guys Podcast.com. Very powered by that, too, as well, that very website, too, the show. Thanks to the sponsors for all they do out here. I wanted to ask you, John, about another one I got to check out called Let It Be Me. I know there's got to be a great story for that one.
Great song. I always loved that song. It's a beautiful song. And that was one of the first songs that I did. It was the follow-up song, that the next song I recorded after the end. And I had ended up getting another producer who loved my recording of the end. His name was Gene Kennedy, one of the longest running record labels in in Nashville, and he was a promoter and a producer, and he approached me and said, I want to, cut some tracks with you, and I love what you're doing with the Jordanaires, and which led to a couple more introductions to a couple more Elvis musicians. And I actually cut that song in his studio, Swanee Recording Studio, in Mount Juliet, which is a suburb of Nashville. And he ended up introducing me to Buddy Spicher. Buddy Spicher was a very famous string arranger and string player, violin player, who actually worked with Elvis Presley. And he told me that and said, I'd like to play him this song. And, from day one, everybody kind of said, that John sounds like Elvis. And, I wasn't expecting that. That was never intentional, by the way. I mean, I just sing with the voice that God gave me. And however it comes out, that's what it is. It's for better or worse, it's my voice. But I can't escape one day without people talking to me about that, including this producer who said, I want to call Buddy Spicher. We started cutting this track. I started singing on the track, and then got the Jordanaires. And he said, oh my God, it sounds like a new Elvis record. I know this arranger that played with Elvis. I'd like to talk to him. This song to me sounds like it needs strings. So that's where that whole thing came about. So, again, coming off the end, I got introductions to a few more Elvis players, and it ended up being a very, very beautiful track. And we're actually going to be releasing that song sometime soon worldwide. Now that I've got all this big distribution and support, we're buzzing. We're getting play all over the world thanks to big radio distributors like Play MPE, Yangaroo Music, CDX Nashville, All Access Nashville. There's a whole bunch of them. Caden Gordon, who's doing a great job in coordinating all this and helping promote the music. I'm blessed to have all these fabulous companies, and Sony Music, The Orchard, promoting me and advertising my music. But Let It Be Me actually is on Spotify. There's going to be a big radio release sometime in the next year. We've got a couple more songs slotted and planned, as we can only release one song at a time. But it's a great, beautiful song. And Jordanaires did a great job with the counter melodies and harmonies. Another great recording.
There was another one too that struck my chord out there too, no pun intended for music there when it comes to it. But it was called, and I believe you cut this one too a while back. This might have been, back in my college years when I listened to the main version of it there, Indiana Girl. I wanted to get a little story of that one.
Well, that's got a real deep meaning, aside from just a beautiful song. That was a song that I wrote, one of the first songs that I wrote around 1986. I went to spring break in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
My first trip with the wild parties in Miami and Fort Lauderdale Beach, and ended up meeting this very pretty girl from near Evansville, Indiana, Mount Vernon, Indiana. And we just kind of struck this beautiful chord and hit it off. And, she was writing love letters to me back and forth, and ended up coming to visit me in New York. I lived in Connecticut, in Darien, Connecticut at the time after spring break. And she came there. My father had just passed away, which kind of crushed me. I mean, he was molding me to start recording and singing and making records. And he passed away at that time in 1986, shortly after spring break, and May 8th of 1986. And then she came in the fall, and I showed around New York and all that. And I ended up writing this song, had a couple glasses of wine, and was thinking of my father, thinking of her. And kind of just this music started coming out of me. I had this beautiful piano down in the studio and started playing this music and started writing down the words. I can't explain it. This writing just comes like that sometimes. It was just the feeling. And I was thinking of her, and she's miles away. And that's, one of the concepts and lyrics of the song is, can you hear me? Can you hear me calling out your name from far away? Indiana girl, can you hear me calling out your name? And that's kind of what that was about, was this long distance relationship, which is obviously, as other people know, very hard to continue that. And when she's in Evansville, Indiana, and I'm in Connecticut, but I got this beautiful, great song that came out of me as a result of that. And that's another song. My arranger, George Andrews, keeps telling me, you got to release that song. That's got to be your next song. That's a great song. That's a hit that smacks you in the face. It's rock and roll from the minute that hits with the drums and the screaming guitars. Put that out next. And, I've got a lot of people telling me what to do next and which song and all that. And that is definitely in the mix. That's on Spotify too. And a great, great song. So that's something I'm definitely planning on doing sometime soon.
Let's talk about another one before I do a quick timeout here. That you did a great job yourself, the Jordanaires, too. Baby, I love you. Those words can never be more expressed in a song like that.
Right. That actually was written in part by Phil Spector and Ellie Greenwich. That was originally done by the Ronettes, and another version of that in 1968 by Andy Kim. I always remember that as a little boy, and always loved that song. And my father loved that song, and said, "Why don't we, start doing a demo on that?" My father passed away, but as I started meeting the Elvis musicians, that's one of the first songs that I thought of. That that's a great song. Let's do a rock and roll version, very similar to the way I did the demo with my father. And I have a few promoters also that wanted to put that out now, and they ended up putting the end out again because of the Priscilla movie. But that's another one that's slotted to come out soon. That's a great recording.
Love that song, no doubt about it, too. Let me take a time out, too. We'll come back, do a little rapid fire with John Krondes here on the show. We'll talk a little bit about, new artists getting into the business, what advice you would give new artists, and a whole lot more. And then, hey, favorite foods and stuff like that. And, of course, favorite shows to binge watch and hobbies away from music. We'll get all that stuff when we come back here on the Backstage Pass. Again, powered by the Sports Guys podcast.com. And, of course, out there, KKTC, True Country 99.9 and High Tide Country.net. But, of course, gentlemen, do not mess it up. Valentine's Day around the corner, February 14th. And even after that, if you're looking for that perfect gift, the spouse, friend, or family member, Jewelry by Tommy has got you covered. You can email burleysystem@yahoo.com today to order. BUEHRLE system@yahoo.com. Quick timeout. More with John Krondes on the show. Stay tuned for more.
The Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix, is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
The Bangtail pour is comprised of a sweet corn mash base. The front has a subtle sweetness and not too sharp. It has notes of a medium char or white oak for a smoky flavor in the middle, and the tail has a super smooth and warm finish.
Go behind the scenes with some of the biggest artists in music today with the Backstage Pass, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. Join Brandon Morrill and his co-host Kirsty Krause as they talk to rising stars and legends about their music careers. Listen to their latest tracks and learn fun facts about the men and women behind the music you love. And be sure to tune into the Backstage Pass Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 6:30, powered by the SportsGuysPodcast.com. And welcome into the Backstage Pass. And, of course, you can catch the show 7 nights a week, KKTC True Country 99.9 out there via the LMNOC streaming app, the beautiful company that owns the 6 stations there, New Mexico and Colorado. Of course, always HighTideCountry.net. Will be a Nashville Country Radio Seminar broadcasted live from the Omni Hotel February 28th to March 1st. And a live remote, looking forward to this, the Wild Beaver Saloon, downtown Nashville on Commerce. Live remote, myself, Alan Price there, great singer-songwriter, and a host of others coming out. We can tell you right now, there's some names coming out. You're going to want to tune in, of course, on the KKTC Facebook page. And a big party, 6 to 10, March the 1st. Nashville, Tennessee Country Radio Seminar. Looking forward to that, too, downtown. And if you're in town, just come say hi. We'll have our banners up, and we might even have some trip giveaways. Everybody loves to take a vacation, so we might have some trip giveaways. I'm working on stuff. People believe me when I say I'm working on stuff. I am, just like John Krondes has worked on music his entire career back here on the show. Let's do a little rapid fire, John. I love doing this. My favorite segment, get to know you more on a personal basis. Hobbies away from music. What do you get into?
Well, one of the things I like doing is cooking, and end up cooking for, I'm Greek by blood. My father was Greek and cooked for a lot of Greek festivals. I'm actually helping out the Fort Lauderdale Greek Church. They have a festival that's actually this weekend. But I love cooking. I've always loved to travel, and actually travel all the time because of my business. And, with the recording business, in order to get all the people on these recordings that wanted to record with me, with all the Elvis musicians, this still requires me going all over the country, back and forth to Nashville, Los Angeles, sometimes Las Vegas, and New York. So I do quite a bit of that. And, love going to movies. Love the beach, And that's why I ended up loving coming to Florida and getting a place down here, and love the tropics, and love music, love making music. I appreciate listening to music, concerts, going to concerts, and listening to great groups. Always something I've loved to do.
No doubt, too. Hey, when you travel, and you've done a lot, and of course, I love just visiting new cities or cities I've been to before. One of the best things is cuisines and restaurants and out to eat. Nashville's got a lot of them, too. But all over the country, what are some of your favorite? You mentioned Greek there, too, but other restaurants to kind of get into when you do some takeout in the major cities?
One of the things I love, which is obviously in Los Angeles and New York, is Chinatown. I love Asian food, not just Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
I love it all. And when I'm recording and go to Los Angeles, every time I go there, I go to the Los Angeles Chinatown. They've got a great one. Love Little Italy. I mean, I'm Greek, but I love Italian food, and often cook Italian food. One of my favorite foods, which my sister yells at me all the time, is because I eat too much pizza. But I love. I started
guilty as charged, right there, John. I do the same thing. Me and my daughter, we're guilty as charged.
Right. I started liking a couple posts on Instagram, and now I'm getting bombarded with people sending me these videos and posts about making pizza restaurants and the best restaurants in Chicago and LA, New York, and what have you. I can't get away from it. But to this day, I always love pizza, pasta, all that good stuff.
It's too much. It's got the carb city, and that's why you always say you go to the doctor. You're like, yep. Just go ahead and check it. Cholesterol's a little high, but we know it's going to be there. So go and do what you got to do. But I can't give up my favorite foods, and that's just
absolutely
a big part of it too as well. Let me ask you this: you probably graced a lot of stages in your day. You mentioned the recording process and everything else out there. Knowing this success does not happen overnight in this business, what advice would you give to younger artists today who are pursuing this dream called music?
You said the magic word: live your dream. You got one time around, and don't give up. If that's your passion, and it's in your heart to write music, play music, whatever your version of it is, which I do it all. I've dispelled every naysayer that came along, including family members and people say, "What are you, crazy? Why are you still spending all this money recording all these songs? That's crazy. What are you going to do with these songs?" And I would just walk out of the room or just walk the other way, walk away from these people. And I was trained that way in football, had good football coaches who told me just stay focused, look straight ahead, don't look in the parameters, don't look left and right and who's there and who's behind you that's trying to knock you down. Look at the goal line at all times, stay focused, live your dream, live your passion, and it'll happen. And you do what your talents are. That's what God expects of all of us. And if music is your passion, your talent, in whatever degree you're in, don't ever give up. Don't listen to people that tell you to give up. Just stay focused and keep doing it, and you'll have success.
Well, you've certainly done that. Words to take to heart, no doubt, from the great John Krondes out there, too. John, appreciate the time here on the show. Looking forward to doing this again when some of the music comes out. You're talking about releasing. Congratulations, all the great contributions to the music industry. Appreciate you being with us here on the show. And my friend, have a great weekend. Enjoy the big game next week, and come back anytime. Hope you enjoyed our chat.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you and your station, your show, and all the listeners out there. Thank you for the support. Follow us, listen to us on Spotify. My music's out there buzzing, and hope to see you after the Chiefs game. And we'll pick it up after the Super Bowl and see what happens.
That's going to be a good game, no doubt about it. Number 58 coming up February 11th in Sin City in Las Vegas, too, at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Las Vegas Raiders out there, too. We'll see you guys next week. Aaron Ray Vaughn coming up Monday, and Tay-Bay, too, as well. A great singer-songwriter in his own right, hitting the Canadian charts and doing well in Nashville, too, as well. And thanks to our sponsors out there, of course, HighTideCountry.net, as always, and the SportsGuys podcast.com. All the shows archived there. And our friends, KKTC True Country 99.9. We'll see you guys next week on the Backstage Pass. Until then, have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Take care.